4, 3, 2, 1, roll away.
Well, welcome to another race analysis. This is a Tuesday night criterium. We're about a week out from the Tour Down Under, and I'm really not feeling it today. There's quite a strong right to left wind, a bit of a head crosswind, and right from the start, a few people are jumping off the front, but it takes a lap or two before the pace really ramps up. We are halfway through the third lap, and I am already at the back of the pack. This wasn't deliberate, but I hadn't done a warm-up, and to be quite honest, I was feeling a bit like I couldn't make my way around the pack today. 2 laps later, my heart rate's not working, so I don't know how hard I'm going, but I'm feeling like I am really struggling to stay with the pack. You can see I'm near the back, even though I came through the corner all right, but I'm doing 600, 700 watts, and I'm only just managing to stick with the pack. I'm on the wrong side of the peloton here. The wind's coming from the right, and I am having to work really hard just to get back up to speed after that corner. So I'm 10 laps into the race. I'm finally beginning to feel like I'm maybe warming up. There have been a few attacks off the front, and a small group has managed to get away across the front. And the group sits up, and at this point it's a bit concerning that there's no one really working on the front when the speed comes out of the group this much. I mean, I'm only doing sort of a bit less than threshold, and I'm doing 55k an hour and whistling through to the front. So I decided to move to the front to get ready to perhaps do a turn to see if I can pull this back. Now, I'm not thinking that I want to bridge across. I'm pretty confident that I don't have the legs today to be in a break, but I'm certainly willing to work to keep the bunch together. So I get to about 5th or 6th wheel, and then I'm going to see just how this front sort of 5 riders works and whether I need to do a big turn. Now, noticeably, I'm doing about 400 watts coming out of that corner instead of the 650, 700 that I was doing a few laps ago. I don't think they're going any slower than we were. I think it's just that when you take a good line through the corner, you come out with a consistent speed rather than sprinting out of the corner. The pace is much more manageable. Half a lap later, this JKT rider in the black on the right has pulled off, and these 2 girls from the Hong Kong Cycling Academy, they're on the front, and they're not sort of skipping turns, but they're certainly not pulling as hard as they were before, so I get on the front. I'm hoping that they manage to stick on my wheel, so I'm only doing about 450 watts. Hopefully and you'll see I sort of ramped up to that rather than hitting it hard. Because I don't want to jump across, I want to tow the bunch around. The JKT rider, though, got on my wheel, and the 2 girls in blue didn't manage to stick on his wheel. And unfortunately, I am punching out with perhaps a bit too much power, and instead of leading the group through, we're just splintering the front of the bunch. Now this JKT guy, he's just done a big pull, and he's hopped on my wheel and he's gone again. I've gone pretty deep, and so instead of slotting back in 5th or 6th wheel, I'm just getting back into the peloton. Also, I thought, unfortunately, although I'm sort of trying to drop back into the slipstream a bit, as soon as this guy in the green sits up the front, the pace comes right out of it again, and all of a sudden I am making my way back to the front. This isn't really where I want to be, but the group of 5 or 6 up the road they're coming back. I'm pretty confident that they're going to come back at this point, but I also, how often it happens that the group almost comes back, everyone sits up, and then the break manages to re-establish a big gap. Fortunately, there's enough people willing to do a bit of work on the front, and that threatening break of 5 or 6 comes back in the next couple of metres. 4 or 5 laps later, and just coming around this corner, I could just see 3 guys going off the front. And this is remarkable. They really establish a big gap really, really quickly. And it seems like only seconds later, and they've got, 100 metres gap, maybe 10 seconds gap already. And aside from a few people who attempt to jump across, the pace once again comes out. And you can see I'm not doing much. I'm doing 200 watts, and I'm whistling past the main group. And once again, I figure I'm in far enough to this race that I've warmed up. So I'm going to get on the front and try to drag it back. Once again, I'm not coming through with a whole lot of power. I'm not trying to jump across. But I get on the front and just sit it, fairly nicely at 430 watts. And hope that I can at least initiate bringing this thing back together. And I'm going to give this a real good effort. This back straight here, we're into a fairly significant cross tailwind. You can see I'm only doing less than 400 watts, although I'm coming into the corner, but I'm doing 50k an hour down the back straight. A bit of a downhill, but it's a really good place for one person to drive the pace, get it moving without going too deep. And then as I'm coming out, I'm hoping that someone else is going to take over. part of the strategy here is that if I can bring it close enough for people to start jumping across, what tends to happen is you get one person jumping across, another person will go 3, 4, and then all of a sudden the whole peloton will see that there's people making it across. The whole pace goes up and it all just comes back together. So I'm hoping that I can do the work to bring it close enough for other people to finish it, and then the rest of the peloton will do that last bit of work. Unfortunately, less than sort of half a lap later, the pace comes out again. I think I'm yelling here, oh, for God's sake, come on. And instead of people picking up the pace and trying to close that last gap, there's 2 guys who have jumped across, and they're making a pretty serious effort to bridge. So now we've got 3 strong riders, including I think one of the Underwood kids is up there, and now 1 or 2 people are just going to jump across and try to make that themselves. And unfortunately, I'm a bit too close to the front, and so it looks like I'm going to have to do some work again. So Old May in the red, in the black chrome kit, he does a pretty good effort at getting us back up to speed up the hill, and then it's me on the front again. Fortunately, I've only got a little bit of a gap to close to the chase group, and again, just building up that speed at 400 watts, flick the elbow, and then people are going to jump across to it. So we've brought this little chase group back, but we've still got the group of 3 way up the road. So far you can't even see them at this point. Unfortunately, a lap later, the pace once again comes out. You can see I'm doing 100 watts. And at this point, you can just see that group of 3, they are still quarter of a lap ahead. They are working really well together. They're putting some distance into the field. And even though there's lots and lots of surges, we're just not making any ground up on them. Now, there's still plenty of this race to go, but it's how often does it happen that Group 2 just sort of dicks about so much. So anyway, I'm here to sprint for the finish. I want to sprint for a podium. I don't want to sprint for 4th place. And it looks like nothing's going to happen unless I go and do something. So once again, I get on the front. I remember yelling at this guy from Norwood to get on my wheel. But as it turns out, unfortunately, 500 watts might have been a little bit too much for the peloton. You can see I'm chasing a few people who have jumped across, so instead of being smooth and steady, this time though with the 2 of us, I think I decided that I might as well keep going with it. He came through and started pulling through to this chase group, but I'd gone pretty deep in that little effort, and so I didn't have a whole lot left to contribute once we got through to these guys. And as you can see, this chase group's disintegrating as well, and hey, guess what, I'm back on the front again. But I'm committed, and I don't think these 2 guys are from our grade, or if they are, they're not the front group. But I can now see the front group, and although they've still got maybe 100 meters or 10 seconds or so on us, the gap's come down a bit since the end of the last lap. They're no longer sort of halfway around the corner by the time we're coming through the main straight. Unfortunately though, my big effort has resulted in the group splitting apart, and as should inevitably happen, people start jumping across in 1s and 2s. I'm cooked, so I'm going to drop back into the pack. 2 laps later, and unfortunately we are back where we started. The pace has come out of the group, and you can see that they're coming around the corner again with a bit more of a gap. And at this point, I'm quite concerned that this is not going to come back. These 3 guys are still working together, and no matter how much I do, or the 1s and 2s get on the front and start trying to work, I'm worried that this group of 3 is going to make it to the end. We've got about 5 minutes left in the race, plus 2 laps. And at this point, it could kind of go either way. So there's only one thing for it, get back on the front and do another effort. At this point I am absolutely cooked. I'm considering whether I do a bit of a suicide turn, just get on the front, burn as hard as I can, try to close that gap and then drop out. So I'm going to give it what I think is probably going to be my last turn here. I've probably done more work in this race than I would usually do. It's windy, so it's been a hard race. The pace has been high. And you know what? I'm pretty happy with the work that I've been able to do. I get off the front for what I hope is the last time, and I'm going to drop back a little bit and see how we go. Finally, though, with less than 3 laps to go, we're into about 2.5 laps to go, I think Nick Underwood does a massive turn on the front. He's just pulling off now. And he gets it close enough that the 3 up the front are within reach. And you can see people are starting to do that thing where they jump. 1 or 2 people follow, and then the pace just goes up, and all of a sudden the breakaway, which looked like it was gone for all money, is suddenly back in range. And at this point, although I'm cooked, I'm in the perfect spot. I'm, 6th, 7th wheel. I've got plenty of room to slide back if I want to. There's some strong, motivated riders on the front, and I can see this group of 3 finally, after 15 laps nearly, probably nearly half of this race, is finally coming back. And all of a sudden, the complexion of this race changes. I mean, it looks like a new group's about to form, including with some of the same riders, so they're still clearly super strong. But the Black Chrome boys get on the front and they start to bring it back a little bit. And so now, with 2 laps to go, we've just had the 2-lap banner, I'm sitting pretty. I'm really happy with where I am. I'm tired, but I've usually got 1 lap in me at the end of a race. I've been fueling pretty well. Nick Underwood gets to the front. I think he's about to go for a big 2-lap bomb attack, which he's really good at. I'm happy if he does. One person going off the front will motivate a lot of riders who will inevitably do a bit of chasing. We're close enough to the end now that no one's going to want to let anything go. And so now I'm really just keen to hold my position. I don't want to be... I'm probably a few wheels too close to the front at this point. So I'm on the protected side of the road. The wind's coming from the left. And I'm just happy at this point to let a few wheels go, kind of see how things are going, and wait for the inevitable surge with 1 lap to go. Todd Rolton in the green, he launches pretty early, still a lap and a half to go. And at this point, I think I probably lose maybe a few too many wheels, and then I don't manage to close off the left-hand side, and I get squeezed out by the girl in blue just on this line. These 2 girls from the Hong Kong Cycling Academy stick together pretty well. I think they might be practicing their lead-outs or something, but I'm now just a little bit too far back, given that we've got just over a lap to go. Having said that, we are strung out single file, the pace is on, and so now is not the time to move up. I'm now really just going to sit in, try to recover a little bit from some of the efforts. I mean, I'm still doing 400 watts, so there's no recovery here. I thought about moving up there, but as you can see, we're all lined up on the left. There's still a strong right to left wind, so no one's really getting any draft here. They're well and truly putting it in the gutter. But here's time to move up. People start swinging around to the right. I take a second or two to recover, and then try to get closer to the front around this top corner. And fortunately, number 203 here, he seems to pick it up a little bit. What I probably should have done here is gone a little bit harder, because what happens instead is, although I'm in the right line, I'm getting squeezed out by people coming from both sides of me. I'm completely boxed in, and I can sort of see a way that I might be able to push through a little bit, but then these 2 guys from Black Chrome squeeze me from both sides, and now I've lost too many wheels. I've got nowhere to go. Normally I'd try to go up the side just to be close to the front, but my spot there, I should have been a bit more aggressive through that corner, but things are getting really, really hairy through here. Mate in the olive green ships his chain. He tries to get it back on with his hand in the last few metres, which is, a bit crazy. And now we're into the final sprint, and I'm 5 wheels too far back. Just down that back straight, I lost too much position, and that was the end of any chance for a win. As it turns out, there was actually a guy who I think was sort of 40 seconds ahead of us, so I'd completely missed him. I'm going for all I've got left in a sprint, but I've just not had time to really open it up. Just had too much traffic to make my way through. And that's just how a final lap can just go badly. And just sort of looking back over that last half a lap again, you can see here I've just lost too many wheels. I'm getting boxed in. And I reckon the right thing to do here might have been to actually hit the brakes a little bit and try to go around the outside. The right-hand side's the protected side at this point, but there was someone else in the line there. And to be honest, other than being a bit more aggressive, I'm not sure there's a whole lot that I could have done here. I'm getting squeezed out there. I don't think I've really got any opportunity to go around them, and at this point we're coming into the corner. Again, the inside line's blocked by the guy who's shipped his chain, and now, honestly, I think this is too late. There's nothing I can do. And honestly, that's bike racing. Sometimes you get a really good run, a line opens up for you, and other times the brakes don't fall your way, and you end up sprinting for 7th place. Anyway, it was a fun ride. I'm looking forward to the TDU starting next week, so we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.